Hi, and thank you for joining us on drillingcontractor.org. I'm Joanne Liu, reporting from the 2012 IADC Annual General Meeting in Scottsdale, Arizona. Matt Glauck is joining me today. He's the Director of Product Development for Neighbors. Matt, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure.
So Matt, you made a presentation today about the history of hydraulic fracturing, and it goes as far back as 1947. Can you tell us a little bit about the early days of hydraulic fracturing?
Oh yeah, the early days were a very interesting time in our history. A lot of innovation, a lot of real innovative people that had an idea and made that idea happen. Again, the early days were very different than what we see today. The jobs were much smaller. They used gel gasoline as a fluid, and if we look at what we had back then compared to what we have today, there's a tremendous difference in the size of the jobs and the type of equipment that we use, but still the same process was applied. The early day treatments were just that. They were very experimental, and it wasn't until several years later that the process became commercial, and it remained a fairly niche market up until very recently. I guess when you look at the number of jobs done per year and the amount of horsepower required, we've seen a tremendous surge in the technology in very recent years.
And along the way, the first massive treatment of hydraulic fracturing in shale was done by the U.S. Department of Energy in 1977.
Right, 1977 and the mid-70s, we're looking at a period of time when we had just coming off of the oil embargo. There was a lot of public focus on energy and a lot of support. So there was I think what is often a forgotten period in the evolution of shale fracturing is that period of time when the Eastern Devonian Shale was being unlocked, if you will. A lot of people were focused on trying to figure out how to unlock these vast reserves of natural gas from shale. So the understanding of that mechanism was in its infancy, and much of that early work really led to the insights that were needed in order to do what we're doing today, which is a very common practice, a very manufacturing-like practice. But back in that period of time, a lot of people were still trying to figure out how can I get to this vast reserve of natural gas. And here today we are looking at the reality of that vision by these early pioneers.
And so another milestone more recently in 2005, we had a major shift to horizontal drilling. How has the emergence of horizontal drilling affected the advancement of hydraulic fracturing?
Well, historically, there was never a really strong correlation between the number of wells drilled and the number of hydraulic fracturing treatments. But with the advent of the advancements in horizontal drilling, measurement while drilling, logging while drilling, those type of technologies, in addition to the completion systems developed, has enabled the process of marrying hydraulic fracturing with horizontal drilling. So today, there's basically not a single well that's drilled that's not fractured. Okay, so these two technologies truly are merged at this point in time. They're married. So you can't have one without the other. We've evolved to much longer wells with many stages compared to what we've done in the past. So the job sizes have increased tremendously. And we're even moving now into what we call a manufacturing model where we're drilling from pads, and it has had a great positive impact on the environmental footprint. So we're drilling fewer wells, and we're having much less impact to the environment by doing that.
So looking to the future, and as you mentioned in your presentation, hydraulic fracturing hasn't necessarily taken off outside the United States or North America, but you say that it will. What are some of the challenges to expanding hydraulic fracturing outside of North America?
Well, there are many challenges. In North America, we really are blessed with a very well-developed infrastructure. We have a well-developed gas transmission system, gas storage system, all of those things are necessary to give you that viable market once you develop the gas. Okay, so we're really fortunate to have that infrastructure. There's also an important infrastructure in the hydraulic horsepower itself, the equipment required. So some of the challenges of moving outside the United States involve the massive movement of equipment and capital resources in order to be successful. Another lesson that has been learned from our experience in the U.S. is that you have to drill a fair number of wells to be successful. And I think a lot of the projects that are starting internationally, they're just simply not past that critical mass of drilling and haven't put enough horsepower to the problem.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for presenting here at the 2012 IADC Annual General Meeting. And thank you for joining us on drillingcontractor.org.